In a world that applauds performance over perception, the quietest minds are often the most formidable. You have surely noticed it. The loudest voices in the room are rarely the ones that say anything worth remembering. Those who truly see have no need to be seen, while others scramble to prove how much they know. You hold back, not from uncertainty, but from a depth of understanding you choose not to reveal. This is the paradox of true intelligence. It is rarely loud, never desperate, and always watching. If you have ever felt out of sync with the world, not because you are slow, but because you are seeing 5 moves ahead, then this message is for you. If you have learned to value silence over noise, clarity over chaos, and observation over reaction, you are not behind. You are ahead. You are not lost. You are simply tuned to a frequency most people have not yet discovered. If this resonates with you, consider this an invitation. A quiet commitment to yourself to think deeper, live wiser, and walk the path most refuse to see. 1. You stay silent. There is an unsettling dissonance in a room brimming with conversation, yet utterly devoid of meaning. You have seen it. People arguing over subjects they barely comprehend, tossing opinions around like facts, rushing to speak only to escape the discomfort of a pause. And through it all, you remain quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because your mind is already 10 steps ahead. You are listening, watching, and piecing together the truth that lies between the words. This is not shyness. It is discipline. It is what the philosopher Epictetus meant when he said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." You feel no compulsion to fill every space with sound, because your attention accomplishes more than their words ever could. You understand that real power does not need to be announced. It needs only to be felt. In a world racing to be heard, silence becomes a rarity, and rare things are valuable. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront their own thoughts. But for you, silence is home. It is where clarity resides. You do not speak for inclusion or validation. You speak when something is worth saying, and when you do, people listen, not because you are loud, but because your words carry weight. You have stripped away the unnecessary. You speak not to impress, but to impact. There is a calm in your presence that unnerves people, and it should, because you are not reacting to the noise. They are. You are not trying to win the room. You are reading it. Your silence is not an absence of opinion. It is a fortress for it. You have learned that sharing your thoughts carelessly invites chaos, not clarity. You have watched others stumble over their need to be seen, exposing too much, too soon, to the wrong audience. Meanwhile, you remain reserved, not guarded, but intentional. Your silence is a strategy. You let others run in circles while you sit still, absorbing everything they miss. You have realized that people will tell you everything you need to know, if you just let them speak long enough. The loudest braggarts often have the least to show. The most insecure are those who must constantly prove their intelligence, and those who talk too much always reveal more than they intend. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the code you live by. When you sit in a room full of noise and choose silence, understand this. You are not invisible. You are in control. Some will mistake your stillness for distance or passivity. Let them. Because in the quiet of your mind, you are holding something far more powerful than attention. You are holding awareness. And in a world that confuses volume with value, awareness is the sharpest weapon you can carry. 2. You read between the lines. Always. There is a unique exhaustion in pretending not to see what is laid bare before you. Most people move through the world this way, ignoring their intuition, dismissing inconsistencies, and granting the benefit of the doubt even when something feels wrong. You have learned not to. Not from cynicism, but from the hard-won lesson that surface-level trust is a luxury you cannot afford. You have been in rooms where people said all the right things and still betrayed you. They smiled to your face and praised your work, yet their energy was discordant. Their timing, suspect. Their eyes told a different story. While others let these signs pass, you do not. You cannot. Once you have seen the pattern, you cannot unsee it. What they dismiss as overthinking, you recognize as observation. You are not looking for drama. You are searching for truth, and the truth is rarely spoken aloud. It slips out in hesitations, in avoidances, in the jarring contradictions between words and actions. That is where you listen. Not to what someone says once, but to the themes they repeat without realizing. Not to what they perform for the crowd, but to how they act when they believe no one is watching. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You have made it conscious. You are awake to the subtle motives most people try to hide, even from themselves. This ability to read the unseen currents makes you different. It also makes you difficult to deceive. Charm does not blind you. Excuses do not sway you. You sense when a compliment is merely bait. You know when someone is mirroring you to gain your trust. While others are flattered, you are calculating. Not for control, but because you value truth over comfort. You are hard to lie to because you collect data that others discard. Stories that don't align. Behavioral shifts that occur right after they get what they wanted. You trust your instincts, not because you assume the worst, but because life has proven them right too many times to ignore. When someone crosses a line, your instinct is not to react, but to observe. You don't explode. You file the information. You study the motive. And you watch to see if it will happen again. You let people show you exactly who they are. And when it becomes clear their intentions are misaligned with yours, you step back. Not with drama, but with deliberate quiet. You do not need to expose them. You simply revoke their access. It is a quiet boundary they never see coming. You listen deeper, you speak less, and you see everything. 3. Your curiosity is not a pastime, it is a strategy. Most people drift through life passively accepting the world as it is presented. They rarely stop to ask, why? Why does this system work? Why did that venture fail? Why did that person say what they said, and why did it strike a nerve? But your mind is not a passive vessel, it is an instrument of dissection. You do not merely accept what is given. You take it apart. You look under the hood. You watch a film and you don't just see a story. You study its pulse, its pacing, its unspoken message. You receive a compliment and you don't just smile. You ask what prompted it, what motive lies beneath it. A mind like this does not rest. It digs. It turns curiosity into clarity. You want to understand the rules of the game, not to follow them, but to know when and how to break them. You study patterns, reverse engineer success, and trace outcomes back to their origins. Not to copy, but to build your own system, one that works better. People may mistake your intensity for overanalysis, but your curiosity is not chaotic. It is strategic. You ask the right questions, the questions that open doors, expose weaknesses, and lead to leverage. While others chase shortcuts, you are busy studying the entire map, knowing the fastest route is rarely the safest. As Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Your curiosity gives you a port to sail toward. It gives you direction. You document everything in your mind, creating mental models, testing scenarios, and adjusting your thinking in real time. Because of this, you are always learning, even when no one notices. You see opportunities before they become trends. You spot problems before they explode. This is not luck. It is the payoff for a mind that refuses to stay still. While others are entertained by the show, you are studying the script. While they react to the results, you are tracing the design. And while they wait for answers, you have already moved on to the next question. This is what makes your curiosity a weapon, not a distraction. That is the kind of mind that bends reality, not through force, but through a profound understanding. And that is exactly who you are. 4. You are never bored, because your mind is a playground. Have you ever sat quietly in a room with nothing but your own thoughts and felt perfectly at peace? Not anxious or restless, not desperate to fill the silence, but calm, present, and even energized by it. If you have, you know how rare this is. Most people panic in stillness. Silence, for them, is a void that must be filled with noise, distraction, or the company of others. Their inner world is a place they visit as little as possible. But for you, it is a sanctuary. It is a landscape you have cultivated your entire life. In the quiet, your mind comes alive. You replay conversations to understand their hidden layers. You simulate future challenges to find their solutions in advance. You connect disparate ideas, weaving together insights from a book you read years ago with an observation you made this morning. This inner richness makes you self-sufficient. You do not need constant external validation because you are your own source. The world's frantic search for entertainment seems foreign because you carry a universe within you. This is not detachment. It is the deepest form of engagement. It is the source of your calm in the storm, the wellspring of your insight. While others are running from themselves, you have learned to sit, to listen, and to draw strength from the one place no one can ever take from you, your own mind. While others reach for their phones, endlessly scrolling or leaping from one fleeting stimulation to the next, you remain still. You are different. Your mind requires no entertainment from the outside world, for it is already alive within. You can sit in silence and conjure entire worlds in your imagination. You can reflect, visualize, replay, and analyze without ever leaving your chair. This is not some mere quirk of personality. It is a form of quiet brilliance. Your ability to be alone with your thoughts is a mental fortitude most people never develop. And it is not because you were born this way, but because you have trained it. Slowly, over time, you weaned yourself from the need for constant input. You discovered that your mind, when left uninterrupted, could offer more creativity, insight, and clarity than any app or video ever could. Carl Jung once said, "Solitude is for me a fount of healing which makes my life worth living." That sentiment resonates deeply when you have truly felt it. You do not fear being alone. You welcome it. Because in solitude, your thoughts do not shrink. They expand. They sharpen. They connect. And they begin to shape the person you are becoming. This does not mean you are perpetually lost in a daydream. It means your mind has stamina. You can focus on a single idea for a prolonged stretch of time, deconstructing it, viewing it from every angle, and reassembling it with greater precision. Such mental endurance is uncommon. Most people burn out attempting to think deeply for more than 5 minutes. But you thrive in that space. You find energy in the stillness, for it gives your mind room to play, to explore, to solve, and to grow. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And that is precisely where you go. When the world's noise becomes deafening, you retreat inward, not to escape, but to recalibrate. You ask yourself the questions that matter. You dissect past dialogues, seeing where things could have unfolded differently, You architect new plans and build new visions. You don't need to escape into entertainment to feel alive. You simply venture deeper into your own awareness. And in doing so, you become a little more composed, a little more self-reliant, a little more yourself. People often say that boredom is the enemy, but boredom is a threat only to those who have not built a life inside their own minds. Without an internal world, one is forced to constantly seek refuge in the external. It is why people binge content they don't even enjoy, why they open apps before they even know why. It is not about pleasure. It is about the avoidance of stillness. But you have turned stillness into a sanctuary. You have realized that if your mind is strong enough to entertain itself, you are free from the grip of endless distractions. Seneca wrote, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." But what of the mind that stays present? The mind that remains rooted in the now, calmly working through its own ideas without rushing toward some external stimulus? That mind is not just peaceful, it is formidable, because it cannot be manipulated by manufactured urgency or noise. It thinks with clarity. It makes better decisions. It sees through pressure tactics and resists the pull of impulsive distraction. That is the mind you have built, one that not only thinks, but continues thinking long after others have tuned out. Perhaps you are not always this way. Perhaps there was a time when silence felt uncomfortable, like a void that needed to be filled. But over time you came to understand that the discomfort was not with silence itself, but with the lack of control over your own thoughts. And so you began the work. You started noticing patterns, training your focus, allowing your imagination to stretch. You turned reflection into a habit. And now, you do not simply pass the time. You shape it. While others wait for something interesting to happen, you create something interesting within yourself. Aristotle said, "The energy of the mind is the essence of life." This rings true in every way. When your mind is alive, everything changes. You see more, you feel more, you connect more dots. You no longer rely on the world to keep you stimulated. You have become the source of your own engagement. And that is freedom. Not the flashy, loud kind, but the quiet, deep confidence that comes from knowing that, even in complete stillness, you are never empty. You are always enough. Such a presence is rare today. We live in a world engineered to scatter our attention. Every second brings a new notification, a new alert, a new demand to look at this. The fact that you can resist it all and simply sit with your thoughts is not just powerful, it is revolutionary. It means you are not controlled by the system. You are observing it. You are not reactive. You are intentional. You are not lost in distraction. You are present with purpose. So the next time someone wonders how you remain so calm, so composed, so steady, it is because you have made your mind your home. And a home like that does not crumble under pressure. It does not need noise to feel alive or chaos to feel relevant. It grows stronger in silence. It sharpens in solitude. It evolves not through external validation, but through internal transformation. You are not just someone who can handle boredom. You are someone for whom boredom rarely exists, because your mind is always working, always exploring, always deepening. And that is not merely a personality trait. It is a sign of mastery in motion. You don't brag, you move in silence. While some people enter a room and immediately try to command it, speaking louder, dropping names, repeating half-remembered facts to appear impressive, you hold back. You let others speak, allowing them to fill the space with noise. And while they are busy trying to be seen, you are seeing everything. It's not that you have nothing to say, but that you have learned to speak only when it matters. That kind of control stems not from insecurity, but from a disciplined power. You have discovered that trying to prove your intelligence is one of the fastest ways to lose your influence. The moment you seek to convince others of your worth, You hand over your energy, making your value dependent on their recognition. That is not your game. You do not seek to be known. You seek to be effective. And the most effective people rarely broadcast their every move. They simply make them and let the results speak for themselves. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The craving for recognition is one of the most subtle forms of poverty. When you need others to validate you, you become a prisoner to their opinion. But you have trained yourself to let that go. You have stopped needing to impress, stopped correcting people just to feel smarter, stopped chasing applause. And in that quiet resolve, you have become more powerful than you ever were when you were trying to be seen. You do not flaunt your achievements or post every win. You let people think you are simple until they realize, often too late, that you have already moved far ahead. This is not deception. It is strategy. You have accepted that being underestimated is a gift. As Carl Jung said, the most dangerous things are not those that shout, but those that whisper. And that is exactly how you operate. Low volume, high impact. You have outgrown the need to shine in every room, realizing that not every room deserves your light. There is strength in restraint and wisdom in holding back. The truth is, those who talk the most often act the least, their constant need for attention a flight from something within. But you have made peace with yourself. You do not need the spotlight to feel important, for you know who you are, even when no one is watching. The philosopher Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This speaks directly to your path. You are not afraid of being misjudged in the short term, because you know the long game always belongs to the one who plays with patience. You don't explain your vision or defend your silence. You know that silence cannot be misquoted, and strategy works best when no one sees it coming. This mindset did not develop overnight. Perhaps you once spoke up more, needing that validation. But life taught you. Mistakes taught you. Overexposure taught you. And now, you choose quiet. You choose focus. You choose depth over display. While others are busy updating the world on their progress, you are making it. You let the noise pass and the trends fade, because you are building something that does not need to trend. It needs to last. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That is how you live. You do not argue your value. You embody it. You move in silence, not from fear, but from focus. Your calmness is not indifference. It is calculation. Your quietness is not weakness. It is control. And while others confuse noise with relevance, you understand something they do not. If everyone sees your next move, it can be blocked. But if no one sees it coming, it cannot be stopped. That is why you move in silence, not to hide, but to win. There is a form of intelligence that never needs to shout. It doesn't interrupt, dominate conversations, or insist on being right. Instead, it listens carefully, speaks sparingly, and gently nudges others toward truth, without ever making them feel they have lost control. You understand this well, because this is what you do. You have learned that telling people why they are wrong rarely changes anything. It only hardens their resistance. But guiding someone to discover the truth on their own, that changes everything. This isn't manipulation. It is a higher form of communication, subtle, powerful, and nearly invisible. Most people are addicted to being right. They argue to win, but you have grown past that, for you have seen how ego obstructs progress. And so, you take a different route. You ask better questions. Instead of debating, you plant seeds. You guide the conversation in a way that gives the other person space to think, to truly think, and arrive at their own conclusion. You don't need the credit, you only care about the outcome. Think of a time someone was struggling with a decision, trapped in a loop. Instead of telling them what to do, you asked how they felt. You asked what they had tried, and what they were truly afraid of. You didn't give them your conclusion. You helped them find their own. Later, they came back, grateful, believing they had figured it out all by themselves. And you simply smiled, knowing you had played your part from the shadows. That is wisdom. That is maturity. You understand the architecture of human thought. You know that people are more likely to change when they believe the change aligns with who they are, not just what they were told. So you frame things differently. You don't challenge their identity. You speak in ways that reinforce their self-image, gently expanding their view instead of shattering it. It is an art few practice well. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Part of that bravery is letting go of the need to control the spotlight. You are free from the addiction to validation. You don't mind being the ghostwriter for someone else's moment of clarity. You have realized that true influence doesn't need to be loud. In fact, the quieter it is, the more effective it becomes. Because when people believe an insight is their own, they don't fight it. They embrace it. This took time to learn. Perhaps a younger version of you used to correct everyone, to jump into debates and force your ideas on others. But you saw how pride closes more doors than it opens. So you evolved. You learned to step back and listen for what is not being said. You wait for the right moment, and when you speak, it is not to win an argument. It is to shift the room. As Plato observed, wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. Your words land with greater weight because they come from reflection, not reaction. Ideas planted with grace take deeper root than those thrown with force. You are not the hammer. You are the spark, the gentle nudge, the invisible guide. And in a world of endless noise, your true power lies in your ability to shift minds without ever raising your voice. There is a vast difference between feeling an emotion and being controlled by it. Most people blur that line. They feel slighted and they lash out. They feel challenged and they argue to protect their ego. But not you. You have learned to hold your fire. You have learned to feel everything without needing to show everything. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you composed. You have separated reaction from response, and in doing so, you have reclaimed an inner power few ever experience. It is not that you don't feel the sting of disrespect when someone crosses a line. You feel it, but you deny them the satisfaction of a visible reaction. You don't explain yourself or defend your worth. You simply go quiet, not in submission, but in strategy. Carl Jung once said, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness." You have accepted that darkness, the ache of being underestimated, the sting of offense, and you let it sharpen you, not shake you. This is what makes your presence so unsettling to some. They cannot read you. They cannot predict your reaction. They cannot use your emotions against you because you do not hand them over. You know that reactivity is weakness. When you react immediately, you are not in control. The situation is. So, you have developed something stronger than a quick comeback. Patience. Not a passive patience, but a calculated delay. You let people show their true colors. You give them the space to overplay their hand. And when the time comes to respond, your words do not just land. They cut through the noise with precision. Seneca wrote, "A sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand." Your mind works in the same way. Your silence is the sheath. Your thoughts are the sharpening stone. And when you finally move, it is never out of raw emotion. It is out of clear intent. In a world that encourages speaking your mind at every moment, your restraint is often misunderstood. People may think you are avoiding conflict, but you are simply choosing the battlefield, engaging only when you have observed, when you have planned, and when the outcome is already leaning in your favor. As Aristotle noted, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. And it is not within everyone's power. This is not an easy path. It is the one you have chosen. You are not emotionless, but rather emotionally disciplined. You have chosen not to react, for you understand a fundamental truth. Every reaction is a transaction. It costs you the precious currency of your energy, your time, and your peace, a currency you no longer squander. When others attempt to provoke you, you remain still. You let them speak. You let them assume. You even let them believe they have won. Because while they indulge in their premature celebration, you are observing. You are taking mental notes. And when the moment is precisely right, when you decide, it is your single move that concludes the game. There is a Stoic grace in the way you bear pressure. You embody the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This principle is not just an idea to you. It is a living part of you. You no longer surrender your tranquility to another's storm. You do not flinch when tested. You have become a vessel that can absorb immense tension without letting it poison your own conduct. This quality makes you an enigma to those who thrive on conflict. They expect a fight. They seek to provoke an emotional response. Instead, you offer them an unnerving calm, a profound stillness. And in that silence, they are confronted not with an adversary, but with a mirror. They are forced to face themselves, their choices, their own words. That discomfort often reveals far more than any heated argument ever could. You have taken to heart the words of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You have faced betrayal, disrespect, perhaps even profound injustice. Yet you refused to let these moments define you. You did not shatter. You did not explode. You simply adapted. You observed, you adjusted, and then you moved. On your own terms. And when you did, your aim was true. This is what truly sets you apart. You are a player of the long game, understanding when to act and when to wait. You know that not every battle is worth your sword, and not every opinion deserves your voice. This is not passivity. It is selectivity. You do not waste your energy. You conserve it. And for this reason, when you finally choose to speak, to act, to confront, the impact is immense. It resonates because it is rare, because it is measured, and because it is authentic. Most live their lives on a razor's edge, where one wrong word can cause an explosion. One inconvenience can trigger a downward spiral. But you have built a different kind of inner world. You have forged a space, an emotional distance, between stimulus and response. You have trained your mind to pause, to reflect, and to act from a place of deep-seated strength, not frantic survival. This is more than maturity. It is power. And so you wait. You watch. You allow others to exhaust themselves in the noise while you remain centered in the quiet. When the dust finally settles, you step forward. Calmly, precisely, decisively. This is not revenge. It is discipline. It is self-mastery. It is what makes your presence unforgettable, not because you speak often, but because when you do, your words carry weight. You have chosen the higher, more difficult road. to remain composed when it would be easier to fracture, to hold your power rather than dispense it freely. In this choice, you have become one who does not merely survive pressure, but shapes it. You mold it into clarity, into wisdom, into perfect timing. This is the mark of a soul that does not live at the mercy of the world, but moves through it with grace, with strength, and with surgical precision. In a world that prizes frantic speed, your calm is not weakness. It is a profound and unshakable wisdom. Your silence, your patience, your depth, this is your edge. For it is never the loudest voice that leaves the deepest mark, but the one that speaks only when it is time,